Hey there and welcome back to another Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man video. And today we're talking about episode 6, Duel with the Devil, which for me seems to be the first episode in a while that isn't building off some huge cliffhanger ending. There's the whole Harry crashing the movie thing, but apart from that, nothing much that's setting up for the next episode. So I'm coming into this thinking anything can happen. I've been really enjoying the show, to be honest. And they've done a whole lot of work setting up future villains and plot points, some of which I think we're about to see come to fruition in this set of episodes. Very excited. Okay, so nothing else for it but to jump into the episode. So we start off in class with Peter trying to get Nico's attention because his social spidey sense is tingling, telling him something's wrong. So instead of waiting for after class like, I don't know, a normal person would in this context, he tries to get her attention whilst the teacher's speaking by using the guy that sits in between them as an intermediary. Of course, this guy doesn't want to because he's trying to work and listen, and in the end they both get called out by the teacher and told they have to stay after class. Tell you what, if that was me, I'd be pissed. What is the end game for Peter's idea here anyhow? How could he possibly think this was going to work out well for him? This leads into the teacher scolding Peter and telling him that he needs to focus up, as one student in her class being placed on probation is more than enough. This in turn leads into our first look at Lonnie after his triumph over the Scorpions, and whilst with the gang it seems that all's going well. He's slowly going from Lonnie to Tombstone. At school it's a different story. He's on probation and he's been kicked off the football team. Once again, I hate Dre. Way to ruin your brother's life, kid. I will say, I did find it very sad that when the coach was trying to console him and shake his hand to show there's no hard feelings, that Lonnie just ices him out and walks away. I mean, how many chances did he get? I feel bad for the coach here in all honesty. Then we come to Pearl and it's just as sad. I feel like the season finale is going to be Lonnie going full criminal and forcing Spider-Man to step in to stop him. He seems to be slowly just distancing himself from everything in pursuit of protecting his family above all else. His immediate future's already in tatters simply from what we've seen here, but then he goes and walks out on Pearl, completely brushing off her attempts to talk to him about what's going on, and probably taking the first step in their inevitable breakup. Man, I'm just so sad! Lonnie from those first episodes is the man. He's so nice and generous. Already we're seeing that he's getting distant and cold as he spends more time with the gang and less time with his family and friends. God damn it, Dre! Speaking of relationships on the rocks, Peter makes his way over to speak to Nico and asks if she's mad at him, since she seemed that she was pissed at Harry coming to the movies with them and, well, yeah. She gives a very obvious answer that's designed to diffuse things, but still hint that she is mad, but Peter doesn't take the hint and insists they all should hang out together again that very night. No time to cool off, no space, because he thinks that if they spend more time together, they'll start to consider Harry as a friend. Who needs to take the hint? You need to ease people into a friendship at this context, instead of just rushing to have every single hangout involve both parties. It seems Peter really does have a lot to learn. Then we have a scene tailor-made for the Dre haters, where Lonnie comes home early and gives excuses to his parents, which they believe because he's always been such a good boy. Dre calls him out privately and tells him that he shouldn't have interfered, as it was his life that was being ruined now, not Dre's. Plus the only reason that Dre got involved with the gang in the first place was so he could get out from underneath his brother's shadow. Damn, what a great reason to join a street gang! I hate this kid. He even questions what Lonnie's going to do when it comes out to their parents about what's happened. When they learn about how his life's going to shit and that he's throwing away all his opportunities. I mean, he has a point here, but it is his fault. Plus, is there any reason why he hasn't clued in his parents himself to try to help him out? In the end, it makes me wonder, does he even care about his brother, or is he simply annoyed that he's been one-upped again? Then it's back over to Peter, who's hanging out with Harry before their meet-up with Nico, and who's still not reading the room at all. Whilst Harry's clearly excited to be hanging out with Peter, since he's not a social incompetent, he can actually tell that Nico doesn't want him there at the movie, and it's likely going to be a similar situation tonight. Since Peter's either kind of stupid or in denial about all of this, he presses on and tells Harry, nah, it's going to be all good. At the same time, Norman comes in dressed up in a tux and informs them he's off to a charity gala. And all three of them are for once going to be having the night off for some fun. We'll see how long that lasts, eh? In this very same scene, we have another little planting of the seed moment where one of the other interns, you know, the one that's totally going to end up as another hero or at least another costume vigilante. Jean? I think it's Jean. Jean's trying to snoop into the top level of Oscorp without authorization, and Peter quickly shoos her away without her being seen by anybody. At first, later on in the episode, I was expecting her to be the person breaking in, but obviously that's not the case. Can't believe I wasn't clued in by the title. Anyway, I feel like this is simply planting some seeds for the future. I'm not sure if they're going to have time to address it in this season, but I assume that if future seasons are made, it's going to be touched on there. For now, I think we're simply meant to think that she's slightly suspicious, but then move on with our lives. So many characters being set up that have a more immediate arc to play than she does. From here, we cut over to the gathering at Peter's apartment. May has set out some food and some old videos, but she has work or something, and so she's off while the teens are left to chill. It's about as awkward as I thought it was going to be. For starters, Harry mistakes raisins with caviar, which Yeah, for me that joke was probably a stretch too far. I find it very hard to believe that he would never have had or even heard of or seen a raisin before. I'm googling caviar and no image I'm finding looks like a raisin. That was just dumb for the sake of dumb. The classic out-of-touch rich person gag. Moving on, Harry assumes that May is Peter's mum, which once again I felt like was another forced awkward moment, since I feel like Peter would have introduced them to each other and called her Aunt May, like he always does, right? I guess you could chalk that one up to Harry being Harry, since I'm pretty sure that he forgot Peter's name despite meeting him and being briefed by his dad on working with him when they first met. We get the tidbit that Harry's mum isn't around anymore either, but they don't say died or passed away like they did for Peter's mum. Pretty sure in the comics she fakes her own death because she hates Norman or something like that, so I wonder if they're going to go down that route. Are we getting pure evil Norman? Morally ambiguous Norman? Guess we'll have to wait and see. The group then moves on to some VHS tapes of various old classic movies, and the awkwardness continues as Harry and Nico both have different preferences of film to watch. Harry wants an action film, Nico wants a slasher. Luckily, Peter's Predator fits the bill for both, and his plan starts to come together. Then it's over to Norman's Gala, where he's being celebrated for his donations to the victims of the Avengers' various disasters. It's clear, though, that this isn't the only reason he's turned up. He's actually meeting with Secretary Ross to schmooze and make it clear that they're willing to work with him and not violate the Sokovia Accords, whilst also using this opportunity to throw Ross off the scent of Spider-Man, registering the hero as an employee of Oscorp under a fake name, the name of the security guard that works the desk. I must admit, this is actually very clever. By being so open and willing to cooperate, Ross has no real reason to look any further into what is a relatively street-level hero. At the same time, I reckon it gives Norman even more leverage over Peter should it come to that, which I'm starting to suspect it's going to. The scene then concludes with Norman getting absolutely humiliated. It handed Ross his tablet with all of the fake Spider-Man information on it and talks about how Oscorp's going to be able to provide international security opportunities, only for a break-in alert to sound off at that moment. Oh man, that'd be awful. Schmoozing up with one of the most important men in the world who you want to impress and get important contacts from, only for him to make a snide comment about you needing to take care of your own business first. Damn. So Peter's happy evening is actually going very well. They're all bonding by playing every single board game at once. Sounds terrible to me, but why not? Since Peter's phone's been turned off, Norman calls Harry to tell Peter to go and check it out. So Peter has to awkwardly flake on the gathering at his own house in order to go see who's breaking in. Peter suits up and off he goes, whilst in the meantime, we get to see what's going on with Lonnie. Namely, that he's been tailed for ages by Camilla and the Scorpions in a car. Eventually he notices, a brief chase ensues until he gets saved by his gang members. How did they know that he was running past at that exact moment with Camilla hot on his tail? No idea. Just one of those things you got to accept. But it does seem like she's not a fool. She could see him getting dragged into an alleyway as she doubles back and waits, building to a confrontation. Nice, nice. Peter then arrives, and this is interspersed with clips of Nico and Harry trying and failing to bond. For instance, they both think the other one is into tarot, but it comes out that Harry's into it for aesthetics, and Nico's genuinely into the fortune-telling side of things. I will admit that Harry is very nice in this scene. Nico's going at him, and he just takes it and tries to make it clear he's not trying to cut into their friendship or anything of the sort. I personally would probably not have kept my cool in the face of somebody hating on me like that. Although flip side, I do like that the episode showed that Nico is trying as well. She's still dealing with her own stuff and struggling to bond with him. Honestly, this is all Peter's fault. Pushing too hard too fast. You gotta ease into these sorts of things. But this in turn lays down the big drama of the episode. Nico says that she and Peter tell each other everything. Harry clearly begins to assume that this means that she knows that Peter's Spider-Man, and thus he tells her. Honestly, this one's on Harry completely and utterly. Why would you assume that based on what Nico has said, as opposed to what Peter's told you? At the very least, you gotta wait and see. If Nico knew that Pete was Spider-Man, wouldn't he have come out and said, I gotta go do Spider-Man shit right now when Norman called, instead of making up a very lame and obvious excuse? Bit of a failure from Harry. Here we come to one of the most hype moments of the entire show's run though. Spider-Man makes his way through Oscorp on the trail of the mysterious intruder, only to confront them on the roof and find Daredevil. Hell yeah! Daredevil! That's what I'm talking about. For starters, I love they kept the same actor from the MCU. On top of that, his costume was really cool, plus really fun dialogue and quips. This scene just took me by surprise. I had known that Daredevil was going to be in the show coming into it, but I'd kind of forgotten by this point. Plus the title, which is obvious in hindsight, somehow didn't manage to tip me off, so I was jumping around shouting at the TV. I was so hyped up. Anyway, this fight goes hard, real hard. Pretty much the theme of it is strength and agility versus pure honed skill and some crazy senses too. I still find it weird that Spider-Man's on the same strength level as these types of guys though. Once again, I know he holds back, but you'd think that when he's getting his ass beat, he would increase his power level little by little to make himself a bit stronger. Either way, I do love that Daredevil's own skill, training, and experience kept Spider-Man on his toes and eventually won him the day. Although I think it would have been better and made more sense if he somehow trapped Spider-Man as opposed to knocking him out straight up. Because if Peter's still conscious after tanking Unicorn's laser beam or getting kicked into a car, getting knocked out here by a nightstick is less believable. Also of note in this fight is the talk from Daredevil about how Osborn's hiding something and that he isn't the man that Peter thinks he is, so yeah, I definitely guess that this means Goblin Norman. I feel like the season finale is going to end with Peter getting betrayed or discovering something about Norman that changes how he sees him forever. This is pretty much 100% confirmed by the fact that Norman has an emergency meeting with Peter where he spins a tale about how Dr. Octavius is the true mastermind behind everything going on with the distribution of weapons, which is actually true, but is also peppered in with the complete lie that Daredevil is obviously an agent that was hired by Octavius. I feel like if that was true, he would have killed Spider-Man, but I understand how that would be hard to piece together for a teenager who's currently working his dream job with his idol and who just woke up from getting knocked out. Norman says that using the tech that Octavius has been giving to criminals, and by figuring out what power source he's using to make it all work, they should be able to figure out his location within the city before Peter goes off to meet with his friends, and we have the big crack in the friendship storyline, where Nico finds out he's Spider-Man and then storms out in tears. Yeah, I guess it would be something big and shocking, although I'll just say that going forward, I don't think Peter's done anything wrong by hiding his superhero identity from people in an era where the world governments are cracking down with Sokovia Accords. I get why she's upset, but yeah, Peter did nothing wrong. Also, I'm pretty sure she was talking to her amulet at some point, so clearly there's more to that she's keeping secret too. Come on. We then finish up with the hook for the next episode. Lonnie seems to be fully integrated into the gang now, with them looking after him and Don even comforting him after he got spooked by Camilla trying to chase him down. I don't know, it feels like a bit quick going from being coerced into joining this gang to being a ride or die member who's close to Big Don, but I guess they don't have unlimited episodes to get to that point. We then finish off with Mac getting his Scorpion suit and truly becoming Scorpion, which is going to be awesome. Hell yeah, the first big Spider-Man versus a top-level Spider-Man villain is on the way. Plus more Doc Ock, hints of Green Goblin, and Tombstone waiting in the wings. Yes, the last part of this season is going to be great. And so that's the end of the episode, and I'll say that these have all been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of this episode? Did you like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.